There are moments in the timeline of humanity when the ordinary turns into the eternal. Days that seem like any other, but in heaven's record, they are marked in bold. June 20th, 2025 is one of those days. This is not merely a number, not a date picked at random. It is a day that echoes with the sound of divine intention. A day when the voice of God breaks through the noise of the world and says, I am doing a new thing. Can you not perceive it? We are not living in ordinary times. The shaking we see in the world is not accidental. It is prophetic. The breakdown of systems, the rising of confusion, the battles in our streets, the wars between nations, the storms in nature, and the coldness in hearts, all of it points to something greater. A shift, a change, a divine interruption. And in the midst of it, the Spirit of God is calling out, not with suggestion, but with urgency. Prepare, for the hour is late. Watch, for the moment is near. Wake up, for the time has come. June 25, 2025 will not simply arrive. It will be unveiled. It will mark a crossing, a turning of the page in the prophetic calendar. And how we respond to this moment will determine whether we rise or fall, whether we walk in blessing or stumble in judgment. This is not fear. This is mercy. God warns because he loves. He shakes to awaken. He exposes to heal. And he prepares his people before the battle begins. This message is not for those who seek comfort. It is for the ones who seek truth. It is for the watchmen, the intercessors, the broken, the hungry, the chosen, those whose ears are tuned to heaven and whose hearts burn with holy fire. What if I told you that the most powerful moves of God don't come wrapped in spectacle, but in silence? That when heaven shifts the course of history, it doesn't always begin with lightning and thunder. Sometimes it begins in stillness. That's what June 25th, 2025 will be. A beginning disguised as the ordinary. The world may not notice. The headlines may speak of politics, of economics, of wars and rumors. But the Spirit is not found in the noise. He is found in the whisper. On that day, something will be released, a turning of the unseen gears of God's timeline. But it won't look like the parting of the Red Sea. It may look like business as usual. People will eat, drink, plan, work, and scroll through their lives. But beneath the surface, the shift will have already begun. It won't feel like a celebration. It won't be announced with fireworks. The day may even begin with tension, heaviness, or silence. But remember this: before resurrection came a tomb. Before the promised land came the wilderness. Before the outpouring came the upper room. Every great move of God has looked like a delay, just before it became a divine delivery. Some will miss it because they're looking for a dramatic scene. But God hides power in the plain. He concealed the Messiah in a manger. He placed the King of Glory on a criminal's cross. And now he is preparing to birth something new on June 25. Through the unseen decisions, the quiet obedience, the secret prayers of those who are truly listening. This beginning will look like a testing. It may feel like pressure. It may look like loss. But that's the signature of heaven, to bring life through surrender, to start over through breaking, to launch destiny through obscurity. So don't wait for a sign in the sky. The sign is the stirring in your spirit. You already know something is coming. The date is not magic. It is marked. And when it comes, the eyes of the flesh may say, nothing happened. But the eyes of the Spirit will say, everything changed. The beginning of a new chapter never announces itself with fanfare. It begins when the page turns. The days leading to June 25 will feel normal to many, but for those who are sensitive to the Spirit, a deep stirring will already have begun. And when the day arrives, it will quietly begin to divide, not by physical walls, but by the condition of the heart. A divine separation will unfold. God will draw a line between the ones who only claim him with their lips and the ones who follow him with their lives. Between those who have built a platform and those who have built an altar. Between the crowds and the called. This is not about outward appearances or religious performance. It's not about how long someone has been in the church or how many scriptures they can quote. It's about authenticity, truth, fire. June 25 will become a spiritual earthquake. But like any real earthquake, the most violent shaking happens below the surface. God is going to shake what we've hidden behind titles, routines, comfort zones, and shallow Christianity. And only what is rooted deep in him will stand. The shaking is mercy. It's purification. It's the voice of God saying, I'm done letting my people lie halfway between Egypt and the promised land. Choose this day who you will serve. For too long, many have sat in comfort, clapping to sermons, but never changing, singing worship, but never surrendering. But God is not impressed by noise. He's looking for those who will walk through fire and still not bow. What will rise from this shaking is not the glamorous, but the genuine. Not the popular, but the pure. Not the polished, but the proven. The comfortable will grow confused, but the consecrated, those who have been refined in secret, will rise. Because what God is about to do cannot be held by lukewarm hearts. He is searching for those who will say yes when it costs them everything. The separation is not to shame anyone, but to awaken them. Because the hour is too late to be asleep. God is getting his bride ready. And the division he brings is the beginning of the restoration that follows. Only those willing to be uncomfortable now will be ready for what is coming next. There are things hidden in darkness that God can no longer allow to remain concealed. Not because he wants to destroy, but because he desires to heal. He is a father, and a father disciplines those he loves. On June 25, the veil will begin to lift. Secrets long buried, both in the world and in the hearts of his people, will start to surface. What has been kept in the shadows will be brought into the light, not to embarrass, but to deliver. The exposure will not be random, it will be surgical, precise, timed by heaven. For years, many have covered wounds with appearances, covered sin with success, covered compromise with charisma. But God has seen it all. And because he loves us too much to let us stay enslaved, he will begin uncovering what has been festering behind closed doors. Ministries that have operated without integrity will be confronted. Leaders who have hidden immorality will be revealed. But it won't stop at pulpits. It will enter homes, hearts, families. It will even reach the hidden places in your own life. This is not judgment to destroy, it is grace to cleanse. Because what you expose willingly can be healed. But what you keep in the dark will one day be forced into the light. June 25 is a warning from heaven. Bring it to me now, or I will bring it to light for the sake of your soul. God is giving his people a chance to repent privately before consequences come publicly. He is calling his children out of deception, compromise, and spiritual double lives. But for those who humble themselves, those who say, "Search me, God, and know me," there will be freedom, there will be a release. Chains that have bound for years will break the moment truth is confessed. The enemy thrives in secrecy, but he has no power in the light. And the Spirit is declaring, enough with the pretending. Come out of hiding. My light is not your enemy. It is your rescue. On June 25, the light will shine. And when it does, those who embrace it will find healing. But those who resist it will find that there is nowhere left to hide. Not because God is cruel, but because he's calling his people higher. And before he can pour out the new, he must expose and remove the old. In every generation, there is a remnant, those who have not bowed to the idols of the age, those who have not sold their purity for popularity, those who have walked through fire and still whispered, "Lord." They are not always seen, not always celebrated, often misunderstood, often rejected, but they are known in heaven. And on June 25, the trumpet will sound, not in the ears of the world, but in the spirits of the hidden ones. It will be a holy summons, a call to rise. They have been in hiding, not because they were forgotten, but because they were being prepared. In caves like Elijah, in fields like David, in the quiet places of tears and groanings too deep for words. The world has seen the loud, the famous, the polished performers, but now God is calling the remnant to the front lines. These are the ones who are not impressed by crowds or applause. They are marked by prayer, birthed in brokenness, anointed in the wilderness. On June 25, something will awaken within them, a holy boldness. Not a boldness to be seen, but to speak. Not a trend, but to tremble before the Lord. They will not echo culture, they will confront it. They will not bow to Pharaoh, they will stand like Moses. They will not flee from the fire, they will walk through it with another beside them. Their authority won't come from position, but from consecration. This remnant will carry the burden of the Lord. They will dream what God dreams. Weep where he weeps. Burn with what burns in his heart. The world will not understand them, and even parts of the church may resist them. But heaven will back them. Miracles will follow them. Fire will be in their mouths and glory upon their lives. And they will lead many out of darkness, not by manipulation, but by the weight of God's presence upon them. If you have felt overlooked, misunderstood, isolated, this may be the moment you were made for. June 25 is not the beginning of your calling, it is the activation of it. All that pressing, all those secret nights of intercession, all the rejection, it was preparation. Now the oil is ready. And the time has come for the remnant to rise, not for recognition, but for revival. June 25 will not only mark a turning point for individuals, but for nations. What happens in the spiritual will ripple into the political, the governmental, and the global. Shifts will begin, some suddenly, others quietly, yet all orchestrated by the unseen hand of God. For he is not only the God of personal destiny, he is the king over kings. He lifts nations up and he brings them down. And now, he is aligning the nations with his prophetic timeline. Many nations have turned their backs on God. They have traded truth for tolerance, righteousness for rebellion, humility for pride. They have redefined what God established and have silenced the voice of conviction. But God will not be mocked. When a nation removes its covering of righteousness, it also removes its protection. And when judgment begins, it begins not with violence, but with silence from heaven. That silence is what precedes the shaking. June 25 will begin a chain reaction. Some governments will experience sudden destabilization, corruption exposed, alliances broken, hidden agendas revealed. Leaders who once stood confident will find themselves under divine scrutiny. And nations that once seemed invincible may tremble, not from war alone, but from within, the erosion of their moral foundation. But at the same time, God will raise up nations and people groups that have been overlooked, those that have kept his name, that have honored his word, even in secret. From unlikely places, new voices will rise. Israel will remain at the center of this shaking. Watch Jerusalem. Watch for movements that seem small, but carry prophetic weight. For as Israel shifts, so does the earth. And America, once a beacon of light, now stands on the edge of decision. The choices made in this hour will determine whether it experiences revival or ruin. The Spirit is still calling, still pleading, return to me, and I will return to you. But time is narrowing. Intercessors will feel the burden before the headlines reveal it. They will be awakened in the night. They will carry nations in their womb of prayer. And their cries will hold back judgments, release protection, and birth revival in lands that still have a flicker of holy fire. On June 25, God will place his plumb line against the earth, and what is not aligned with him will begin to be corrected or collapsed. This is not the end, but it is a beginning of accountability on a national scale. Those who rule must remember they answer to a higher throne, and those who watch and pray must stand in the gap like never before. Because what shifts in the Spirit will soon be seen in the soil of the nations. For years, God has extended his hand, calling, waiting, pleading with his people to return. His mercy has been wide, his patience long. He has held back judgment, given time, and offered countless opportunities for repentance, healing, and restoration. But mercy is not without limits. The God of love is also the God of justice. And June 25 will mark the narrowing of a divine window, a season of grace beginning to close. This is not because God has stopped loving. It's because he is preparing his people for what is coming, and he knows they cannot survive what's ahead with half-hearted faith. The window of grace has allowed many to live with divided hearts. 1 foot in the world, 1 foot in the kingdom. But that lukewarm life will no longer be sustainable. The days of casual Christianity are over. What once went unnoticed will now carry weight. What once could be delayed will now demand decision. This narrowing of grace is not a punishment. It is an invitation, a holy urgency from the heart of a father who longs to draw his children close before the storm arrives. He is saying, come back now, while the door is still open. Don't wait until it slams shut. Like in the days of Noah, the ark was prepared long before the rain came. But once the rain started, the door was sealed, and no amount of crying could reopen what God had closed. Now is the time to repent, truly repent. Not just to feel guilty, but to turn completely, to walk away from compromise, to renounce the secret sins, to rebuild the broken altar of devotion. Now is the time to return to the Word, to the secret place, to prayer that breaks chains and worship that pierces heaven, because what is coming will test everything. And only those with oil in their lamps will be ready when the midnight cry is heard. On June 25, the invitation will still be there, but it will carry a sharper edge. A weight, a clarity that demands response. No more postponing obedience, no more pretending that later is safe. Later is not promised. The Spirit is not playing games. He is gathering the wise virgins, separating the wheat from the chaff, calling his people to make ready. Because what stands on the other side of that narrowing is not ease, but glory shaking and the outpouring for the prepared. The door of grace is still open, but not for long. Step through it now, before it's too late. In every divine shift, God not only removes what must fall, he also releases what must rise. And on June 25, there will be a release from heaven of new mantles, new anointings, new assignments. But they won't fall on the expected. They won't be given to the proud, the flashy, or the self-promoting. They will descend on the yielded, on those who've been crushed in secret, refined in fire, and trained in the shadows. The ones who no one saw coming, but heaven has been watching all along. These mantles are not just symbolic. They are spiritual authority granted by the King of Kings. They carry weight. They carry purpose. And they come with a cost. Many who have been in hidden seasons, those who have walked through suffering, isolation, loss, and silence, will suddenly find that everything they endured was not wasted. It was preparation. Every tear, every trial, every breaking was shaping them to carry what others could not. Some will be mantled with prophetic boldness, their words like fire that cannot be ignored. Others will receive mantles of healing, and their hands will carry the power of restoration. Some will be mantled for intercession, able to shift atmospheres with prayer. Others for leadership, godly leadership, not built on ego, but on servanthood, humility, and wisdom. These mantles will not be man-given or self-claimed. They will be heaven-decreed, and no demon in hell will be able to stop the ones who wear them. This is not about status or title, it's about responsibility. A mantle doesn't make you famous, it makes you accountable. It doesn't elevate pride, it demands deeper surrender. And those who receive them must walk low, stay hidden in the secret place, and keep their ears pressed to the heart of God. Because these mantles are not decorations, they are tools for warfare, for revival, the building of God's kingdom in a time of shaking. June 25 will be a transfer moment. Some who have mishandled their calling will have it removed. Others who remain faithful in silence will suddenly feel the weight of something new resting on their lives, which is passing, not to the clever, but to the consecrated. And those who have been praying, weeping, preparing in hidden places, you're not forgotten. You are being fitted for your mantle. Heaven is calling you forward. You didn't miss your moment. You were being made for it. Get ready. The mantle is about to fall. The battle that is coming will not be one of flesh and blood. It will be a battle for souls. It has already begun, but after June 25, it will intensify. Lines will be drawn clearer, the gray areas will begin to disappear, and the war between light and darkness will no longer allow for neutrality. Every soul matters in this hour. Your family, your children, your community, your generation. The enemy knows that his time is short, and he is unleashing deception, distraction, and destruction with increasing speed. But heaven is not silent. Heaven is mobilizing. This will be a season where evangelism becomes warfare. Not merely preaching in comfort, but contending for souls in prayer, in fasting, in sacrificial love. The Spirit of God is stirring those who have been afraid to speak, those who have kept their fire hidden, those who have questioned whether they are ready. And he is saying, the time is now. There is no more room for delay, no more time to wait for a better moment. The harvest is ripe, but the laborers must rise. You will see it in the streets, in schools, in homes, an invisible war for identity, purpose, and eternity. Souls are being wooed into darkness, trapped in confusion, seduced by lies that sound like love. But the truth must be spoken, and it must be spoken with power. God is not raising up passive people. He is awakening warriors. People who carry his heart, his word, and his authority. People who will not be intimidated by culture, silenced by fear, or discouraged by rejection. There will be an urgency that falls on the hearts of the remnant. A fire to intercede like never before. To plead for souls, to weep over the lost. To preach with tears in their eyes and fire in their bones. The distractions of this world will lose their grip on those who truly see what's at stake. The time for entertainment is over. The time for compromise is gone. What's coming will require a people so anchored in truth that they are willing to lay down everything to see one soul saved. On June 25, something will shift in the spirit. A new level of spiritual conflict will begin, but so will a new level of authority for those who walk in obedience. Angels will be released. Doors will open. Battles will be won in secret prayer rooms before they are seen in public places. The fight for souls will be fierce, but the harvest will be great for those who are willing to fight for it. There is no backup plan. You are God's strategy. You, the one who has wrestled in silence, who has wept over your prodigal child, who has cried out for revival in your city. Your prayers matter, your voice matters, your obedience matters. This is not just a war, it's a rescue mission, and you have been called for such a time as this. This is not a suggestion. It's not a motivational thought or a spiritual option. It is a prophetic alarm from the throne room of heaven. June 25 is not about feelings or predictions. It is about divine reality. The Spirit of God is sounding the trumpet, and those who have ears to hear must respond. This is not the hour for passivity. It is the moment of decision, of urgency, of eternal consequence. Too many have become numb, lulled to sleep by routine, distracted by noise, delayed by comfort. But when God sends a warning, it is never without purpose. It is mercy wrapped in urgency. He is not shouting to scare you. He is calling to prepare you. When a trumpet sounds in the Spirit, it demands a response. Either we rise or we retreat. Either we obey or we delay. But delay in this hour is disobedience. June 25 will not feel dramatic to the natural eye, but in the Spirit, it will be a collision point, a convergence of timing, purpose, and consequence. Decisions made in this season will echo into the years ahead. The path you choose now will determine what you walk in after. There will be no room for indecision. God is separating the watchers from the sleepers, the builders from the spectators, the hearers from the doors. This word is not for those who want to be entertained. It is for those who are ready to be transformed. God is not calling fans. He's calling followers. He's not calling the lotus. He's calling the surrendered. This is a call to rebuild the altar, to return to the secret place, to break away from sin and compromise, to live like eternity is real, because it is. The clock is ticking, and the Spirit is not whispering anymore. He is thundering. Prepare your house, clean your hands, purify your heart, make straight the way of the Lord. What comes after this day will require deep roots, real faith, and fearless obedience. Those who ignore this call will not be able to stand in what's coming. But those who respond, truly respond, will walk in protection, provision, and purpose. This is your moment to decide, not tomorrow. Now, when God says everything will change, He means it. And when everything changes, only those who have prepared will walk in the power of what He's about to do. The trumpet is sounding. Will you rise, or will you sleep through the alarm? It may come without thunder. The sky may not split. The earth may not tremble beneath your feet, but don't be fooled by what you see, or don't seize in the unseen realm, everything will shift. Not because of man, not because of a headline, because God said so. And when God speaks, creation responds. When God marks a day, that day is sealed in eternity. You have heard the call. You have felt the urgency. The Spirit is stirring, not to entertain your emotions, but to awaken your soul. This is not the time to stand at the edge. This is the time to step in, fully, completely, wholeheartedly, because after June 25, things will not be the same. And those who have prepared will recognize it. They will feel it in their spirit. They will move with it. They will walk in it. But those who ignored the call will find themselves disoriented, scrambling to find footing that no longer exists. This is a divine alarm, not just for a nation, not just for the church, but for you. God is not asking for perfection. He's asking for surrender. He's not asking for a show. He's asking for truth. He's not waiting for the powerful. He's waiting for the available. And if you're willing to say, "Here I am, Lord," He will do through you what you never thought possible. So don't waste this moment. Don't silence the conviction. Don't press snooze on the trumpet blast. Tear down the idols. Clean the house. Return to your first love. Let the Spirit search you, break you, fill you, and send you. Because when God says everything will change, He means your world, your heart, your future, your calling, your legacy. And you were not born to miss this hour. You were born to rise in it. This is your moment. This is your warning. This is your invitation. June 25 is coming, and everything will change. Will you?